It was already a story from long ago. Arima recalled it as he spoke about a friend from his student days in Kobe, Yugawara. He would sometimes visit Yugawara's apartment. The first time he went, he noticed something strange. A life-sized mannequin arm lying across the floor. He felt it was odd but assumed it must be a movie prop. Yugawara was in a film club, after all, so Arima refrained from asking. A few days later, he visited again and this time saw an entire torso, also lying there. It was clearly a male figure, disturbingly realistic. Still, he said nothing, although he wondered why someone as tidy as Yugawara would leave something like that in the middle of the room. He thought perhaps Yugawara didn't consider him a real guest. Arima smiled bitterly at the thought and chatted for a while before leaving. From then on, every time Arima visited, more parts of the mannequin appeared. Eventually, the pieces seemed to assemble themselves into a complete body. What was more disturbing was that the skin, once looking dead, gradually gained a sheen, like it was alive. About a month later, Arima couldn't take it anymore. He asked Yugawara, carefully, cautiously, if he could move the mannequin. It was disturbing and in the way. Even as a prop, it was in poor taste. Yugawara stood up and walked around where Arima had pointed. He sat down heavily, right where the mannequin lay. To Arima's eyes, it looked as though Yugawara had sat down directly on the mannequin's torso. It wasn't a trick of the eye. He could see the figure clearly, even feel like he could touch it. He hesitantly told Yugawara what he saw. Yugawara looked at him with concern, wondering if he was okay. Arima explained everything, that over the span of a month, mannequin parts had slowly appeared, gradually assembling into a headless figure so lifelike it felt alive. He admitted he was scared, terrified of what might happen if the head ever appeared. He added that it seemed only he could see it, so Yugawara probably wouldn't believe him. Yugawara shook his head. He said he saw nothing. If he had been walking over it this whole time, what was the point in worrying now? Besides, he couldn't afford to move to a new place. Arima fell silent. He couldn't explain the dread he felt. Yugawara tried to lighten the mood, suggesting he return the following week to check on things. Arima agreed. Days passed. Yugawara stopped coming to university. It wasn't too unusual when he was busy with his club, so Arima didn't contact him. But a week later, Arima visited the apartment as promised. The door was ajar. Inside, the room was fully visible. There was no answer when he called out. He entered, removing his shoes. The futon was laid out, but empty. Clothes were hung on the wall. A wallet lay on the desk. Arima wondered if Yugawara had been taken to the hospital. But why would he leave his wallet? It was a time before cell phones. There was no way to trace him. Arima waited for an hour before reluctantly leaving. On his way home, he realized something. The mannequin was gone. A month passed. Then, one day, Arima heard from a mutual friend that Yugawara was in the hospital. That friend was also in the film club. He said something strange had happened. Apparently, Yugawara had been found at a bus stop in Tokushima. He hadn't shown up for club activities. They had called his family using the emergency contact info on the club's roster. His parents, panicked, had bombarded the club with questions. Did they know what had happened to their son? He had been found sitting on a bench at the bus stop in pajamas. Oddly, the soles of his feet were perfectly clean. A police officer happened to pass by and noticed how unnaturally still he was. Eyes wide open, staring into space, completely unresponsive. Concerned, they called an ambulance. At the hospital, he was found to be breathing on his own, but unconscious. He couldn't eat and was put on an 4. The police tried to identify him. Thanks to a missing persons report filed by his family a month earlier, they were able to confirm his identity. The friends said Yugawara's mother had called them, crying, begging to know anything at all. But they knew nothing. They could offer no answers. He asked Arima quietly if he might know something. Arima thought about telling him. He thought about the body parts that had slowly gathered in that apartment, forming something not quite human. But he knew it would sound insane, so he said nothing. When Tajiri was a child, he lived in a remote mountain village. Like most children there, he spent his days running freely through the woods with friends. Among them was a younger boy named Yuchan, who always tagged along with the older kids and adored playing the same games as them. Recently, the children had found a new thrill, exploring the nearby woods under the banner of adventure. That day, they followed a narrow animal trail that climbed deep into the mountain. Eventually, the steep path opened into a clearing surrounded by thick brush, a natural open space, just the right size for a ball game. Off to the side of the clearing stood a withered, half-rotten tree, its bark peeling, its branches lifeless. Yuchan called out suddenly. He said it was a maple tree, said the red leaves were dancing, that it looked beautiful, and then he ran toward the tree. The others looked around. There were no red leaves anywhere. It was spring. Yuchan stood beneath the dead tree, gazing up at the bare, branch-like fingers with a dreamy expression. The other kids watched in silence, puzzled. Someone muttered, asking what was wrong with him. Another replied that, whatever it was, the place just didn't feel right. Though they couldn't explain why, the older kids all agreed there was something off about that clearing. After that day, none of them ever went back there. Later, Yuchan began begging Tajiri to take him to see the red leaves again. He would say, "Let's go together. No one else is around today. It'll be fine." He asked many times, but the older kids always refused. That day, however, the other older children were all busy helping with house chores and couldn't come outside. Tajiri thought for a moment, after all, it wasn't that far, and the path wasn't hard to follow. He relented. "Just this once," he said. Yuchan jumped with joy. They entered the narrow animal trail, climbed up the steep incline, and arrived at the same clearing. This time, even Tajiri saw something fluttering in the branches of the dead tree. But it wasn't maple leaves. They were hands, human hands. Hands of all kinds, men, women, children, dangling from the tree's branches. Pale, motionless, some swollen, some wrinkled. They all waved, as if beckoning, "Come here, come closer." Tajiri felt the hairs on his arms stand up. He said it was time to go. Yuchan replied, "But we just got here. Let's look at the leaves a little more." Tajiri grabbed his hand. "That's not a maple tree," he said. "Let's go now." Yuchan resisted, but Tajiri pulled him down the mountain at a run. After that, Yuchan kept trying. Every time after school, he would run up to Tajiri with a big grin, waiting to ambush him. "Let's go see the red leaves," he would say. But Tajiri always said no. That place made him feel sick. He didn't want to go back. One day, the conversation was the same as always, but Yuchan was especially persistent. Tajiri finally snapped. He shouted that enough was enough, and if Yuchan wanted to go so badly, he should go alone. Then he ran home. That night, during dinner, the phone rang. Tajiri's mother answered. After a brief conversation, she turned and asked, "Yuchan hasn't come home yet. Do you know anything?" Tajiri froze. He didn't know exactly where Yuchan had gone, so he said no. His mother turned back to the phone. "My son doesn't seem to know either," she said. It was already past 7 p.m. and dark outside. His mother hung up and said that a search party was going out into the mountains. Hearing that a child had gone missing, Tajiri's father rushed out after coming home from work. Tajiri couldn't take it. He tugged at his mother's sleeve and confessed that maybe, just maybe, he knew where Yuchan had gone. He explained carefully, "There's a path branching off the usual trail. It goes to a clearing. Yuchan said the tree there had red leaves, and he wanted to go again today. I told him no, but maybe he went by himself." His mother dashed out the door. Soon after, the sound of ambulance sirens echoed through the village. Later, Tajiri heard what happened. Yuchan had fallen and hit his head. There was a large wound. It seemed he had tried to climb the tree and slipped. At the funeral, Tajiri remembered Yuchan's mother crying, wailing uncontrollably. After the incident, children were no longer allowed to play in the mountains. Tajiri's family moved to another town not long after. Perhaps they couldn't bear the stares from neighbors. Since then, he has never returned to that village. His childhood friends all drifted apart. He no longer knows where they are or what they're doing now.